Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, thanks so much for joining me. I'm Alina Ghost and I have been doing reusable nappies for over a year now, and I'm super excited to bring you this video that talks about things that I have learned during my journey with cloth nappies. If you are new, I do actually do lots of videos on reusable nappies. I absolutely love reviewing like cloth nappies, like brands and types of nappies, so you might see lots and lots of videos around those if you haven't already done so. So if you are also new and you haven't seen my vlogs and things, I have a 19-month-old baby boy called Aiden. I also have a huge white German Shepherd or Swiss German Shepherd cross mix. Anyway, that's a bit too much information, but apart from that, we're a bilingual family, so we are a British family, so we are actually mostly English. I am Russian, so we speak both Russian and English at home. Anyway, enough of that, enough of my background. If you wanted to check that out, please do so. Please do consider subscribing and having a look at those. But today and right now, I'm going to be talking about my learnings and my tips and tricks for you if you haven't started your journey yet. I have learned so much during my time using reusable nappies every single day for like over a year now. I've also learnt so much whilst reviewing these brands for you, because like not only have I been reviewing them myself and seeing what I think, but I've also been looking at other people's videos. What do they think? I'm looking at people's Instagrams as well. So yeah, no, it's super cool, and I really hope that like everything that I've soaked up in these past many months, that I can relay it to you and that this video is really useful to you. So before I start, actually, I wanted to let you know that down in the comments below, sorry, the description below, I'm going to add all of the information that I can so that you can skip to the little subcategories that you want to. So for example, if I'm going to be talking about nighttime nappies, you can go down there and have a look at what time I start talking at nighttime nappies, so that you don't have to sit through everything. You might not be interested in everything, and I've got no idea how much I'm going to be talking in this video. It might be a lot, so you might be able to skip to the sections that you want to hear. So hopefully that makes things easier for you. Cool, so without further ado, let's get started. I don't even know where to start. There's just so much that I want to talk about. I guess it makes sense to start at the very beginning, right? And that very beginning was when I decided to do cloth nappies and actually looked at like Facebook Marketplace and eBay to look at second-hand nappies specifically. So what were my reasons to do it? So I know that I always felt guilty each time I used a disposable nappy, so I knew that eventually I'd want to try it out, even if it wasn't for that money saving reasons that cloth nappies do bring to you as well. So ultimately, it's cool. Like if you want to start saving money because you're on maternity leave, because you might not be that well off, you want to start saving money, why not do it with cloth nappies, right? But for me, it was like the eco-friendly factor. So the fact that I knew that I wanted to save the planet, and I'll do like my very best to do so. I've even cut down on meat, for goodness sake, which is affecting like my whole family lifestyle and not just me. So this is no different. Like you think this might affect just you, but it isn't. Like I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, how other people react to it as well, and how nursery comes into it, how like your primary nanny or like a person looking after your baby is like affected by it. But anyway, firstly, let's talk about that whole buying second-hand. It is such a good idea to buy second-hand, especially if you've never done cloth nappies before. If you're not lucky enough to know someone or have a friend or a colleague who has done cloth nappies and can provide you with a handful of them, then second-hand is perfect, because firstly, you saving on that eco-friendliness, because like you are not wasting on like factories creating these new materials for you. You're not buying new, you're actually buying something that was pre-loved, and already you're getting as much worth out of this one item that you possibly can, because that person doesn't need to throw it away. You actually just end up using it even more and like making use of this whole item. So this always reminds me of that story of like the Native Americans, how they used to make everything out of the one animal. So they used to use, let's say, the meat for food, and they used to use the skin like leather, and to actually create their teepees. So the fact that none of it goes to waste really resonated with me, even when I was studying this back at secondary school. So the fact that I remember it now and actually use it as like a metaphor for reusable nappies, I think it's absolutely the same, because you're using the item to its like best capacity you can. And I think ultimately that's what you're doing here secondhand. And not only that, if you are price conscious, secondhand will save you so much money. So I bought 26 Littles and Blooms, maybe some other ones, reusable nappies. So it was like the pocket nappy specifically, plus I think it was a lot more than that in terms of inserts. I think it was about 30-ish. So not only did I get like the microfibers that came with the Littles and Blooms, but also I got the boosters, the bamboo boosters, everything for £50. Isn't that awesome? £50. Imagine buying it from new. So at the moment, if I go for the good quality stuff, okay, let's go for mid quality stuff, I could probably buy what, 2, 3, I'd say about 4 or 5 if you're lucky, medium range kind of cloth nappies. So the fact that I got 26 because they're pre-loved, and because yes, they're not new, they've been used. She said she used them on nearly 4 kids, for crying out loud. So the fact that I was able to get it at such a good price, and they've lasted me so long, I'm still using them, and they're still one of my favourites. I don't think I should be preaching this anymore, right? I think it's pretty straightforward. Buy secondhand if you can, whether it's eBay, whether it's Facebook Marketplace. There's tons of places that you can do that. But also don't forget there's Facebook groups specifically for ladies like myself, like you, so mamas who want to buy pre-loved reusable nappies. So definitely have a look around. That was tip number 1. So let's move on. I guess it's something obvious but not obvious at the same time, and that's that the quality of the nappy really does matter. So for example, I had an old colleague who came up to me, I say came up, you know, like online, they messaged me, they saw me doing like these reviews for reusable nappies, and he said to me, oh, we tried this out, but unfortunately as his girl got older, that he had to move back onto disposables because her nappy kept leaking. So what I said to that, I said, well, honestly, it's probably down to the nappy that you're using. So if you've tried the different types of nappies, it's the inserts inside, sorry, I don't mean the nappy, I mean the insert inside that you're using that matters the most. Like the reason it's soaking through and going through is because you're not using the right type of material. After lots and lots of like daily trials, and not even trials, like just using the bloody things, I know that microfiber is great at drying, but not so good at absorbing the items, or absorbing a lot of the liquid, right? So we know that probably the best quality materials is like bamboo, it's like cotton, hemp is fantastic, but they might not dry as quickly. So I guess you're compromising on one thing or the other, but at the same time, that is why I use a mix of them in the one pocket nappy. So if you've seen my videos, you know that I prefer pocket nappies, so I'll probably be talking about pocket nappies most of the time here. So essentially I love to use like a microfiber against a very good quality nappy insert. So for example, like a hemp one. So imagine putting those two together, and then you've got like a mix of both worlds, right? Like you've basically using as much as possible, because like it dries quickly, it also absorbs quickly, but at the same time it doesn't absorb much of it. So on the other side you've got that hemp, which absorbs a lot, but it takes longer to actually absorb the moisture into it. So yes, it's pretty much going back to like biology and like chemical studies and science and everything, but ultimately that's how it works, that you need to just make sure that you have quality inserts. And that's one of the things that I've done in the past year, and that's make sure that I got really good quality inserts. So it's not even about the outer layer of the nappy itself. Like the nappy could be beautiful, could have great designs, or it can have really bad designs, or it doesn't even matter if it's faded, but ultimately it would work as a pocket nappy because you can just stuff the inserts in it and then it's fine, right? Obviously I'm exaggerating, because there's things like leg gussets. You want to make sure that it's a good fit for your baby. But ultimately, why do you have nappies? It's so that it absorbs all the wees, all the poos, without it having explosions, without the clothes getting wet, right? So ultimately, the point that I'm making here is that you need to make sure that you've got great quality inserts, and that you've got to look at that again if you don't think that the system is working for you. So if you think that, oh, I keep getting leakages, well, maybe you're not putting enough of those boosters in there or inserts in there, or maybe you're not changing your baby often enough. It should be 2 to 3 hours. Yes, it's a little bit more than a disposable nappy, but ultimately I find that my baby's bottom is so much better without disposable nappies. It's so much better on my baby's skin. Aiden absolutely has like a great bottom because I am using all of these like natural fibered materials, and that's something that people don't tell you when you start cloth nappies. It's actually like, I'd never noticed it, the fact that it's actually really great for the skin because it's breathable. It's like nice fleecy material, so it's really super soft. Whereas disposables ultimately is like man-made material. It probably has plastic in it, like, you know, that kind of stuff. So anyway, I digress. Ultimately, just buy better quality stuff. And yes, I know that if you are there for like the money saving aspect of it, well, try and buy second hand, but better quality stuff. So like look out for having a balanced like nappy collection, and having like that hemp, that cotton, that bamboo material inserts. That's ultimately number 2, guys. So number 3, what was the number 3 that I wanted to show you? So that's a really good one, quality over quantity. Moving on to number 3, and that's the type of nappy is very much dependent on your lifestyle and what you prefer. So the only way for you to know what you prefer is to try them out. So going back to my first point, do those and buy those secondhand, because you don't know how you'll get onto them. And ultimately, if you buy that and you think, oh, it's actually not working for me, instead of throwing it away, just buy it, sell it like secondhand, third hand, whatever, sell it on. Don't just let it like rot in your drawer, sell it on. Anyway, I think that I went through a range of types of nappies, and ultimately I still don't have like a favorite. Like, I do say that I like pocket nappies, but I do have different variety or different brands of the same pocket nappy. So ultimately I know like the type that I like to go for, but at the same time I also really like to use all-in-ones. I also like to use all-in-twos. So actually having a balanced like nappy collection is something that works for me. But I know some people who prefer to just have the one. So for example, I know someone who has over 20 of Bambino Mios all-in-one nappies, and she swears by them. She does not want to use anything else, and good on her. She knows what she likes, she knows how to use them, she knows how to dry them, how to wash them, and basically she's got her routine set. But she only found out that she liked this particular nappy by trying out different ones, right? So I'm saying keep an open mind, try those secondhand, see what works for you. And the other thing I'm going to say about types of nappies is ultimately it changes as your baby gets older. I know that when Aiden when we first started our nappy routine, it was at Aiden, he was around 3 months old and he was really tiny. He was a baby. We preferred the Bambino Mios because of the fit, but at the same time, when he got older, the Bambino Mios didn't work for us because he started to like un-velcro them apart. So he'd go nude, he'd go naked because he was able to like unstick the nappies. So ultimately it's about understanding that what works for you now might not work for you later. So another example, I didn't like the Littles and Blooms at the beginning because they kept leaking. So what did I say earlier? Well, I know for a fact it was my own fault. It was my own fault because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to look at YouTube videos to understand better what I was doing because I don't know whether I was lazy, whether I just didn't care. Ultimately, because it was the summer and he was always going just in his nappy, it didn't really matter if he did leak as well. But what I found out is that I wasn't adding enough inserts or boosters in the nappy, so it kept leaking, and secondly I wasn't using the right materials, what I was saying earlier. So yeah, essentially what might be working for you now might not work for you later, and it might change, and your preferences might change as well. Your lifestyle might change, because I ultimately, a year on, ended up going back to work, so different things that started working differently for us. So to give you another example, and to sort of veer onto my next point as well, is the fact that when other people start to look after your baby and start to use these cloth nappies to look after your baby as well, they might prefer a different thing. So even though you might like a specific type of nappy, somebody else might like something else. So to give you an example, I used the Bambino Mio Velcro ones less and less, but ultimately I now started to get more Velcro ones, so like to extend my collection of the Velcro ones, because my mum-in-law found them a lot easier to use because her hands started hurting. We think that it might be arthritis, so obviously using those cloth nappies with the poppers on them, so like the pocket nappies, the poppers meant you have to press down, and obviously that hurt her fingers quite a lot, and the Velcro ones were just much easier to use. So that's another point to think about as well. My next point is around nighttime nappies. So this isn't something that I thought about. So when I thought cloth nappies, oh, that sounds like a great idea, I didn't actually think how much of a challenge it would be to have nighttime nappies, because you'd think, oh, they're the same, right? They work the same. But how wrong was I? Ultimately, my baby boy is a heavy wetter. So nighttime nappies and the routine was a struggle to get to, but we got there in the end. So if you haven't seen already, I did like a whole video around my top 5, I think it was my top 5 nighttime nappies that really worked for us, what we tried, what worked, what didn't work. So essentially, if you want to see that, I'll link that down below so you can have a look. Essentially, what I wanted to say about nighttime nappies is just for you to be aware of this. I don't want you to be put off by this, but I want you to be aware so as to manage your expectations, right? So essentially, nighttime nappying can be tricky, especially if, like myself, I was breastfeeding up until he was like 13 months old, and most of it was during the night. My baby would wake up tons and tons during the night to just feed and feed. He's a hungry baby, but that's nothing new, right? He's still a hungry baby. Luckily, I don't breastfeed anymore. Anyway, it means that the nighttime nappies like was soaked, and there's a particular smell to them as well, just so that you're aware. And it doesn't smell like wee for some reason. It just smells different. Anyway, it's just around you trying different things, and know that there are brands out there that actually offer you specifically nighttime nappies. So if you are also having trouble, make sure that you are looking at these options, because one of my favorite options was actually one of the most expensive as well, but I would not have anything else. Like, it was so easy. It was easy for me to use. It is easy for my other half to use, and he prefers that one actually, and that was the Bell Bum. No, it wasn't the Bell Bums one, but we do have a Bell's Bums one as well. That's our number 2, as in the second favorite. Our favorite one is the Beehive baby beehive, baby behind, or something like that. Anyway, I'll link that down below so that you can have a look and actually buy that for yourself as well if you want it. Before I finish up around nighttime napping, actually, I just wanted to let you know that yes, we started off actually changing him once or twice a night, but like by the end of it we don't have to. Once you figure out a really good nighttime nappy and routine, and like you found the nappy that works for you the whole night, you don't need to change them more than you don't need to change them throughout the night at all. So yes, there is hope for you. If you are a mama right now who's struggling with like nighttime nappying, know that there is an end to this all, and that yes, you could still do cloth nappies if you just don't give up and have a look at your options. Something that people don't tell you about, and this is my next point, is around the weight of your baby with a cloth nappy. When they have a disposable nappy, they are a lot lighter to hold, and you are holding them with one arm. When it comes to cloth nappies, because you're adding more inserts and boosters and it's extra material, at the end of the day it's extra layers of clothes. So they are clothes on top of clothes or underneath clothes, so they are going to weigh a lot more, and that's something that I didn't realize when I first started napping. So I thought that I will let you know about this one. It's a really quick point, but I thought it's definitely worth mentioning. My next point is all around that washing routine. So I am a rule breaker. Just to let you know, I don't do anything by the book. I probably do it really wrong, and if I do, I'd love to find out how you guys do it, because ultimately I might be ruining my materials by doing this, but it's worked for me for the past year. Firstly, because I bought secondhand, and the lady before me was a smoker, not just a smoker, like like the items smelled of smoke, if you know what I mean. Like it was smoky. I had to wash and rewash, put it on 60 degrees. I had to add scent boosters to it, had to add vanish to it just to like get rid of that smell, and luckily it worked in the end. But at the same time, I don't know whether I've ruined the material doing that. Like the pocket nappies and the inserts still work for us, but at the same time, the microfiber inserts that I've got are definitely like stripping. But at the same time, are they stripping because I've used them so much in the past year, or is it because of my routine? Probably a mix of both. Anyway, washing routine. I've not looked this up. I just know what I do. I wash my baby nappies, so my cloth nappies, every 2 days. I use just the basic Ariel or Lenore, or both, depending on whether it's a conditioner or whether it's one of the washing liquids. I always use liquids, don't use powders or anything else. And I pop the liquid in with the nappies in the washing machine tub, or whatever you call it. And then in the drawer, I put the conditioner in. So I've been doing that for the past over a year now, and they're still working really well for me. I've got some really good quality stuff as well that I paid a lot of money for, and they all seem to be, touch wood, working for me. It's not stripping. The materials and the gussets, for example, haven't been ruined or anything. So from my opinion, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I feel like it works. My final and probably the main point is about not to only have a think about yourself. So ultimately, if you are going to be a stay-at-home mum, do think about yourself. Absolutely fine. So basically, the cloth napping will be ultimately for you. Then you get your collection that you want, your favorite nappies, then like a mix of other ones that you might want to try later, right? So you've got like that nice balance. So that sounds great. But ultimately, if you're a little bit like me and you go back to work, I went back to work a year after my baby was born and into full time as well. So it meant that not only our family looking after my baby, but also the nursery. So that's something to have a think about. Firstly, have a think about the nursery that they're going into. Are they going to be disposables? Are they going to be providing those nappies? Or are they happy to take on your reusable nappies like my nursery did and start using those? That's something to think about, because if they are going to be using your cloth nappies, do know that they're still going to be coming back to you. They're going to come back home to you, and you're going to be having to wash them. So they're not going to be doing the washing up, like the washing of the clothes. That makes sense, absolutely. But I just wanted to make you aware of that. So like, your options are there, and it's worth asking around, finding out what the nurseries are thinking, and what are you prepared to do on top of your full-time job, basically. So is that a lot for you? For me, luckily, because we're working from home most of the time, it's been an absolute ease, touch wood, to do that, because if I'm not home, then my other half, Chris, is at home to actually put the washing on and put it up. So it doesn't seem like an issue for that, like an issue in that sense. And then when it came to my mum-in-law, as I've said, we've changed the types of nappies that we've actually been using, but we've been really lucky that she's actually even wanting or is happy to help us in our cloth nappy journey. Ultimately, she's had 4 kids herself. I believe she started off with mostly cloth nappies, obviously not the same ones that we've got now, but back in the day, that's all you had. You didn't have disposable nappies, so she's well used to it. But at the same time, there are some people or some family members who might just not want to do it. So that's something to consider as well. Like, do you want to have this whole collection that when you go back to work is just going to be sitting there? I would say yes, just because you're still making sure that there's less and less of those disposable nappies in the landfills and everything. But ultimately, like, it's just a choice that I'm opening up to you. And it's also a really good idea to start that conversation now before you go back to work, so that you get your family to buy into it and tell them about the great things that you're doing, that there are less disposable nappies in landfill. It means you're saving the planet. It means you are saving money, and also you're providing them with these nappies. You're washing these nappies for them. It means that they don't have to do the hard work. So maybe make it as easy as possible for them there as well. So that was the lucky 7 top tips or top things that I've learned in the past year doing cloth nappies, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I really hope that actually you found it useful and that you agree with me, if not on all the points, on most of the points. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It'll mean the world to me. As I do this in my spare time, I'd also love to chat to you guys. Like, whenever I get a comment, like, I just leap for joy. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, if you could like this video, if you enjoyed it, obviously, it'll also mean a lot to my channel. It'll tell Google/YouTube that actually you are liking my content, and therefore I'll do more of this content for you. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.